The 11th of September 2024, Nanny State gay. Now, I would have liked to get away from Enoch Burke and all of this, but it doesn't seem to be very easy to get away with it because there are fundamental things involved. Now, I assume that otherwise than this gay and transsexual and all this thing, that Mr. Burke was an alright teacher, that he wasn't being awkward. You can sometimes get a person in the workplace who's as awkward as hell. I had people working with me, over me and under me, and you couldn't manage anything with them. They were just awkward. Now, I have no idea. I'm totally ignorant on that, so I don't know. But even so, if somebody is very awkward, the right way is to warn them and sack them for being awkward. And I would stick to that if that was the case. This is what's happening here. Nobody can work with this person or whatever it is. But it's never happened before that I know that this event happened, that he refused to call a by day. Now, the question is also asked, and I'll deal with it in a minute, about the Greens. Why are the Greens blamed? I would blame the Greens 100%. 100%. The Greens are the pinnacle of woke ideology in Ireland today. They have only 12 seats in Parliament, and they've tried to rule everybody's life, and they've tried to change the constitution in two ways to do with marriage and women in the home, and they would have done it if they could, and they managed to get Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and the Greens all to agree. The people said no. But then the people went back again and more or less voted for those parties in the European election. So Roderick O'Gorman is a gay man, and I have always been accommodating. I don't care what people are, but he's pushing his gay agenda. He's the Minister for Children. He's pushing his gay agenda in government. And he was behind this, and I heard him myself on the radio saying that he wasn't quite clear what the referendums meant legally, but he was sure a judge would figure it out. That is a disgusting, disgraceful thing to do. And the fact is, I heard Catherine Martin overrule the judge over the referendum commission, saying the judge was wrong and she was right. These are a radical, extreme left, woke, communist people. The green agenda and the climate change has nothing to do with the planet. The green agenda is to bring in restrictions on fuel and stop people burning fuel, shut down industry and bring us all back to the horse and cart and the bicycle. And even when they brought us back to the bicycle, it cost $336,000 to build a bicycle parking place at Leinster House and government buildings in Dublin. That's about 10 times the price it should have been. They have no value on public money or anything else. Terry Higgins made that comment about that. No way would I let the Greens away with this. They're the architects of this. In fact, I nearly go as far as to say they're the motive. They motivate these extreme teacher principals and all that do these things. Now, so I think it's Terry Higgins mentioned that, and Mary's, my main computer broke. It won't take the charge. I have to get another one. So Mary is on here about trans activism and all this crack going on. And Pat says, if you read it up on it, you'll find the suspension has nothing to do with transsexuality or anything else. I have asked Pat to tell me, what does it have to do with it? My understanding is the school had a woman there who's now gone down to Bandon, and she laid out the rules for the principal that this boys had to be called they. Now, I would be the very first in national schools, and particularly national schools and even secondary schools, to realise we must stop bullying. Bullying has been part of the education system since I was a boy. I was at schools myself and I saw it happening, and I would have been bullied. I would have had my head shoved down the toilet, only I had an outrageous strong right fist. And I've had a book on how to break the jaw of an opponent, and I several times done my best to hit them on the jaw and break the jaw. And it is said that they'd knock out, and if they died, that was their problem. Even though I didn't like to murder anyone, I didn't really care as a young man. But I remember one time a person tried to bully me at school and to fire a catapult to put out my eye, and I gave him an outrageous walloping. and there was a mission on in the school at the time, and I tried, when I got my chance, I give it to him on the jaw, hoping to knock him out. Didn't care whether he lived or died, didn't matter to me. He was trying to put my eye out, and he didn't drop dead. He just kind of was stunned, and we went on. But that evening, the mission was doing a big mass at 3 o'clock, and we're all lined up, and we all had to kneel down, and the next thing, he fainted on the floor, and he had to be carried out. He had to be brought away. I don't know, did he have to go to hospital, but the punch worked, but it was 2 hours later taken in. Now, you see the extremities I had to go as a country gosson to protect myself, and not every boy was in a position to do that, and there'd be poor little nice fellas there, decent people who turned out to be great friends of mine after, and they would be getting abused and bullied and everything else, and sometimes I'd take sympathy on them and I'd join up, and their attitude was, well, you keep out of it, and then I had to keep trying to break the jaws. That was always my objective when the bullying started. See, will this book work? But they were afraid of me. And sometimes if there was a hill, I'd catch them and pull them over my shoulders. I had no conscience on what happened to them, even though we were Catholics. So this was the brutal nature of education in Ireland, and is in many other places. And we have had boys committing suicides over this and being bullied, and it's a terrible thing. No one hates bullying as much as me, and very few have done so much to prevent it through physical force as me, and through other methods as well, and even training boys how to defend themselves and all of that. So I'm all against bullying. So it may be that people feel that if there's a boy is a wee bit sissyish, or he may think he's this or that, he's a wee bit timid, that he's gay, he's automatically gay. I don't know. I don't believe that, because I know a lot of very timid boys who grew up to be great jobs, great business people, had families and all of this. It was just that when they're young, a certain amount of the students at Irish schools are tramps. Their parents are tramps, and their background are tramps, and they're out robbing gypsies, difficult tramps. That's what they are, low-class scum. And of course, the father keep banging away, and the mother be pregnant every 9 months, and Paddy go the whole hog, and there'll be 15 of them in the family. Although I know a person of a family of 19, and they're all very decent people. So you can't generalise, but you'll get this dragged up and no manners put on them or anything else. And the next thing is, when they go to school, they're on a different planet altogether to the little lad that's reared well. Maybe his father's dead, or maybe he's doing the best he can, or whatever. They're decent people, and they get bullied. So I'm totally against all that bullying. I believe schools should keep tight control on what children should do, and try to look after the weakest members of society. I don't make the connection between that and being gay. And I think that a young lad up to 18 or 19 doesn't really know anything about sexuality. That's something should come in at 19, 20, 21, and even 25 or 26. They have their whole lives ahead of them. But what we have is the woke, green extremities of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil in Ireland, the Democratic Party in America, pro-mad abortion. They'd kill a baby the day it was born if they could. And pro-mad abortion, and pro anti-religion, anything that's good and wholesome in our society. And therefore this green thing and this child thing extends to such a degree that they believe they have the right to bring it on to force public servants who get jobs unwittingly, not knowing that this is what they're facing, to call a boy they, call a boy her, or call a boy anything. That's a step too far. Now, there's another, Enoch Burke's mother is going around campaigning, and there's good crack, and I saw a video there. I didn't get time to study it too much because I'm working today at jobs. And you can see the LGBTQ extremes, the pride and all of these. A lot of gay men and women have nothing to do with that LGBTQ stuff at all. That's an extreme, radical, communist movement. And they are butches and bitches, a lot of them. And you want to see them in Mayo. Laughing at Burke's imprisonment. So there's an element of this that tries to humiliate the decent person. there's an element of this, I take the cap off, that tries to humiliate the decent person. So the extreme LBGPQ, and don't forget, if any 12 of you want to meet me for a good old argy-bargy, I'm well fit for you. But anyway, they won't do that. I'm not talking about hitting them or anything. I'm talking about a good debate, and they won't come in near me, I'll tell you. But the thing is, yet I believe the day will come our paths will cross. But the thing is that this is part of it. The humiliation. Oh, he's a religious teacher. Oh, we'll fix him. We'll get him to call a boy. He'll demand that he calls a boy day, and he won't, and we'll jail him. I still believe when the courts were dealing with this, the main point was not the disciplinary hearing or anything else. Mr. Burke was not being disciplined for failing to teach kids, for abusing kids, for not doing the classes right, for not treating them right and giving them the advice for their examinations and everything. If that was on the curriculum, then on the reason for the complaint, then of course the right thing would have been a disciplinary hearing. But if you take a hospital and there's a doctor in there and he comes in and he does something which is wrong, we'll say he prescribes the wrong medicine for diabetes. We'll say he gives an injection for an inflammation of the arm, which is actually the wrong injection. That's for the medical association. They know. No judge is going to get in on that because he doesn't know much about medicine. These doctors on the medical association will be sensible and experienced, and they'll be able to say, right, you shouldn't have done that, we're going to fine you or something else. Otherwise, a doctor could be a rogue and no one would ever identify him. But if the doctor refuses to call a by day, then the medical association should have nothing to do with it. Their job is to deal with the school teaching, the education of the children. It's not to install a woke or a foreign or a new ideology, whether it be communism in China or anywhere else, on that particular public servant. I repeat this again. If it's a hospital, what the doctor refuses to call the by day, that's nothing to do with the medical association, and any inquiry into it is ultra-virus. It's beyond the powers of the hospital to use that. Now, if the doctor is going in and women are coming in and he's a gynecologist and he starts behaving inappropriately, and the next thing he starts feeling the women or getting excited or that or doing something, then that's their job, because the role is you do not mix the two. You're there to treat the person. That's it. So that would be a legitimate use of the disciplinary process. And if it transcends to a breach of the criminal law, such as an indecent assault, it's for the Gardaí or the police. Okay, that's it. Likewise, no matter what it is, I gave the example before of the school bus driver. He should not be expected to get involved in the politics of the latest fad that's out there. Who he votes for is his business. And he should only look after the kids in that way. He should not criticise a child because he knows the father votes Fianna Fáil. He should keep out of that. If he doesn't get involved in those things, then you cannot come along and bring in some new fad with some new crowd like the extreme LBGPQ and tell him you must call this by day, just because that's the fad of the day. The Department of Education and the college had no right to do that. And even if it were a private school, they probably have no right to do it, because it's not unless they had it published for the job and that there was a condition of the job that you agree to this, and that mightn't be. So this school brought out this rule, and they tried to enforce it with the disciplinary proceedings. And I think Mr. Burke was right. They had no jurisdiction to deal with it. They had no jurisdiction. It wasn't a matter of education. It was a matter of forcing a new ideology, which happens to be LBGPQ, ultra extremist, on an ordinary person who just happens to have an ordinary Christian religion in Ireland. They had no jurisdiction. And I don't know what happened in the court. And if Mr. Burke put his case cogently in the court, I don't know, did he? Then the judge should have thrown it out. The school had no right to suspend him whatsoever. It was a constructive dismissal. It was an unfair dismissal. The fact they kept paying him only adds insult to injury. What was going on in the Enoch Burke case was the shaming of people that these LBGTQ plus crew or X disagree with. They hate the like of what I'm saying here. But wrapped up in their ideology is this green crap, green nonsense. Putting the farmers off the land. Trying to take the land off the farmers now. That's the latest. No compliance with the law on their harebrained schemes because they're incapable of doing the proper assessment. I believe unless Enoch Burke did something else, unless he was extremely bad some other way, which I have no evidence of, the whole thing is illegal. And if I were him, I'd be applying for habeas corpus. I'd be applying to the High Court for an order of habeas corpus, where he'd have to be produced into the court. And of course, most of the dumbbells of Irish judges would go against him. There's about 3 that wouldn't. There's about 3, I believe, who would hear with him. He'd have to go to the Court of Appeal. The mediates would do the same, and then you go up to the High Court. Although, I have to be fair, in the case of Sweetman versus the Burplanola, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court all sided with Mr. Sweetman, even though they didn't like it. Folks, that's the story of it. That's my view of it. As somebody else has more that Mr. Burke done, well, it's about time. It's very much in the public domain that told me. I'm going by what I know and what I read and what I hear of the case. The courts had no jurisdiction. Now, if he went into court and he blackguarded and ordered the judge around, well, he shouldn't do that. If that happened, that would be pity. But that doesn't legalise the illegal detention. The right action I would take, and I'm not his lawyer and I can't be held accountable for it, I would apply for an order of habeas corpus under Magna Carta. Why am I being held? And I'd look at the whole thing and I'd force the whole courts to go through it and the costs they impose on them and everything else. And I wouldn't expect much sympathy, but if you got to the Supreme Court, I think it'd be good. And indeed, if there was a fund set up to try and help, sure, we'd all throw in a few euros and see how it goes. I believe that this should not progress any further until the Irish Supreme Court, there's 9 judges, maybe all 9 or at least 7, are given their chance to deliberate on it. And I'd be quietly confident that if that happened, they'd rule in favour of Mr. Burke and the school would have to back down and he'd have to get, I think 195 million euros I'd be giving him anyway, 195 for his good name and his family and everything. Maybe that's not enough, maybe 382 million. Is that enough? How do you put a price on that? I don't know. But that's what I would be inclined to do. I'd definitely give him more than it cost to put the bicycle shed at Leinster House. But that's the story. So now, please comment logically. Please comment sensibly. If anyone believes that Mr. Burke was sacked, was dismissed or suspended for anything other than his refusal to call a boy in the class, then will they make that clear and stop him and hard. For I will not listen to bullshit, right? If I'm wrong, I'll be the first to apologise and say I got it wrong. But I'm going on what I hear now. There should be a collection carried out and this should not be let go any further. And shame on the dirty tramps of 158 TDs. The whole damn lot of them. Not one of them has the gumption to come along and raise this in Leinster House. What about the 60 senators that are up there? Not one of them will do this. The people should do it. We need a fund. We need to push it to the bitter end and let the Supreme Court decide. And I will go and help any barrister team to work out the thing. Because what this is, you remark in the case of Harry Miller, the Judge Sharp, made the point. This is also a chilling effect. The whole thing behind Mr. Burke and his treatment is to chill other teachers, that they'll not do the same. And that was identified in that judgment. And there's another reason why we should be heading to the court for Mr. Burke. comment underneath. I'd say I'd straighten them. I'd say if I got on that in a case, I'd straighten them. And the High Court would rule a big load of baloney, and we'd just wave on to the Court of Appeal, and they'd probably doodly on up to the Supreme Court. And there you have people who are not afraid of being sacked or promoted, not seeking promotion or anything else, and you could argue your case and you can get a majority decision on that. What right has a school to do what they did? I claim they have no right whatsoever. A person is entitled in the terms of the contract to behave the same, and any new rule brought out or anything else should be well thought out and considered, and the implications of it considered, and it should comply with the right for a person to express their views and to have religious beliefs. And I think the Harry Miller case is a help. English law is persuasive in Irish courts. That's my view. Folks, 20 minutes. I think I'm doing well. I think people see the sense of what I'm saying. Oh, wouldn't I love to get dug into that? Oh, gee, right? You can see me stepping into the court, and I'd be looking at the judge like this, and I'd say, I know what you're thinking, and I'd fix you good. If you had the money, good luck. We'll see you back.